climate change, habitat loss and degradation, pollution, invasive species, overexploitation, and other potential threats. We have understood about these 6 different points in the last class, and I think I asked some questions also in this in your test number 1. This concept I'm not going to teach right now because more of the details we are going to discuss in module 2 and 3. So this is the current population density status. Of course, this picture was taken in 2018. It is even a little more worse right now, and you can see the intensity of the population from all the countries worldwide, and you can see where India stands and what is the condition. The thick red color, almost a brownish color that you can see here, actually indicates this scale. You can see people per kilometer square. If it is more than or equal to 300 and 1000 plus, then this color comes. You can see this color. So India is suffering very badly with reference to the population, which we are going to discuss, of course, in the next module in more details. So the last concept, which I briefly explained in throughout the module, was I asked a question also, because you would have definitely studied this flowchart and you would have understood. What are the methods of conservation of biodiversity? Two basic methods are there. One is called as in situ, the other one is called as ex situ. Now, in situ, what is the basic dictionary definition of in situ and ex situ is in situ is in the real land or in the real life situation. In the real land or in the real life situation. Ex situ is in the laboratory conditions. Ex situ stands for laboratory conditions or protected conditions. So, what are the in situ or the natural means of conservation of biodiversity? Right, protecting the areas like national parks or sanctuaries or biosphere reserves, in the terrestrial biosphere reserves or marine biosphere reserves, whichever is natural, biodiversity regions like national parks or sanctuaries or biodiversity or biosphere reserves, conserve them, protect them. So the best methods of biodiversity conservation is leave a park as a park, leave a sanctuary as a sanctuary, leave a biosphere reserve as a biosphere reserve. Don't encroach it into that, because we need to get educated about this, because it is us who had been encroaching the natural reserves, parks, sanctuaries, terrestrial biosphere reserves or marine biosphere reserves. Everything can be encroached by a human being. So protecting the areas which are biodiversity rich areas is the best in situ or the only method of in situ biodiversity conservation. Now, apart from this, there are few technical laboratory methods which is called as ex situ biodiversity conservation methods, right? These are laboratory conditions or the conditions which are generated artificially and which are being done deliberately. They are called as ex situ methods of biodiversity conservation. Now, for example, having seed banks, cryopreservation, field gene bank. These are all laboratory methods of conserving something, and this is the best method of biodiversity conservation. Now, what is a seed bank? Seed bank is where it is just like a bank where you store money. These are the banks for storing the seeds of the trees. Seeds of the trees, and such trees which are becoming extinct or whose population is tremendously reducing down, this seed bank should be able to give that seeds so that plantations can happen and regeneration of those trees can be done. Same is the case with cryopreservation. I think all of you know about cryopreservation, right? Cryopreservation is where embryos can be stored. The callus of a tree can be stored, right? Something that is dying in its embryo stage can be stored, and that embryo that is stored can be reused for synthesis of that particular plant or a animal. This is not just for plant, even for animal. Ex situ biodiversity conservations can be done. Field gene bank is nothing but it's once again a bank where instead of seed or any embryo or anything, genes are being stored. For example, imagine Drosophila, which is a fly, right? The whole of the gene sequence of this Drosophila can be stored, and this can be used as a ready resource for production of that particular Drosophila in future generations, or when it becomes extinct, that gene sequence can be retrieved, and through the gene sequences you can synthesize that particular, or you can artificially produce that particular animal species or the plant species. So uh, these are the banks, right, which are all genetic level banks, which is one of the ex situ methods of biodiversity conservation. There are few more methods of ex situ bioconservation. For example, arboreta, botanical gardens, zoological parks, aquaria. Right. You might get a doubt that you have a park here, which is a national park, and you have a park here also. But this park we have categorized as in situ, which is natural. But this botanical gardens or zoological parks or aquaria, we have mentioned as ex situ. What is the difference? Now, this is where few of you might get confused in multiple choice questions. Please do remember, national park here is a natural, naturally existing protected area. For example, Kudremukh National Parks, or for example, Bannerghatta National Park. Bannerghatta National Park is not constructed by someone. It had been naturally existing. We have named it as a park later by putting a fence, but otherwise it is a forest area. It is a known big forest area, which after the civilization happened and after the people started looking at it, they started giving it a they started putting a fence, and they have named it as a Bannerghatta National Park. But you see these botanical gardens or zoological park or aquaria, these are nothing but artificial. Botanical garden, for example, Lal Bagh, right? Lal Bagh was not naturally there. Lal Bagh was built, it was made, it was designed. It is something that is being designed deliberately. Same is the case with zoological parks. You go to any zoological park, right? The zoological parks will generally not be natural. They will be something that is artificially made. But of course, in a national park, they can build a zoological park. For example, in Bannerghatta National Park, they have made a separate zoological park for say lions, right? Actually, it doesn't it there is no way that lions can be seen only in one place. You cannot restrict them. But what they have done there, they have put some fences, and they have made the lions or tigers or elephants or peacocks or chimpanzees or different wild animals. They are restricted to a certain boundaries, and when you restrict them to a certain boundary, it becomes artificial, and such artificial parks where animals are there are called as zoological parks. Such artificial places where plants are there, they are called as botanical gardens. And the same is the case with fishes. If at all you have artificially maintained fishes, they are called as aquaria. So yeah, so I think you have now understood about the ex situ methods. The last ex situ method is having a method by means of which you can protect the plants, especially in the form of, you can see, sacred plants or home gardens, right? These are also not natural. These are something that is deliberately being done, and these are something that can be used for protecting the plants, at least in the name of God, or at least in the name of religion or belief, right? For example, tulsi is considered as one of the most sacred plant. Why this sacred plants and maintenance of the sacred plants is being mentioned as a biodiversity conservation method, ex situ biodiversity conservation method, is because of the reason that lots and lots of people believe religion, and if not environment, at least in the name of the religion, a tree has to get protected, right? At least in the name of a religion, a tree, if it is protected, that is the best method that you can conserve the biodiversity. Same is the case with home gardens. I think all of you know about rooftop gardening and so many such new concepts that are coming up right now. So these are all the methods of ex situ biodiversity conservation, which can be in the laboratories, or it can be in the open land, or it can be in the like home, or in the name of religion, in a temple, or anywhere. These are all the best methods of conservation of the biodiversity. So these are in situ, which are nothing but natural, which are naturally existing and protecting the nature as it is, which is in situ. And ex situ is by means of some or the other modifications to the methods that are available, which are generally laboratory based, and that's the reason they are called as ex situ. And this is what about the conservation of biodiversity. So this completes module 1 completely, and we are going to see module 2 in the next lecture.